Welcome to the lecture on classification algorithms. So, this is the second type of pattern that we will study. The first pattern we studied was that of association rules. So, let me define what classification means. The idea is the following. It is you are given a set of attributes and a set of problems belonging to a class. Let me tell you with an example. Let me explain you with an example. So, suppose I have a table like this. I'll come back to the details of this. Let me you just focus on the table. Look at this table. Okay. So, you see that this is a table consisting of some attributes, attribute 1, attribute 2, attribute 3, whose values are like yes, no, large, medium, small, 125k, 100k, some values. And the final column marked in red is something called a class. So, each of the rows are a object. So, you can imagine sort of you can think of them, suppose it is like each row is a person, record of a person who attribute 1 is, let us say he is employed or unemployed, yes or no. Attribute 2 is maybe he stays in a small home or a large home or a medium home. Attribute 3 is maybe his annual income in rupees, 100k or 125k is annual income. And then maybe I know that this each of these person, each of these rows belong to one of two categories. Either you give them loan, if they apply for a loan they will repay their loan, or you should not give them loan. Yes or no? I should give them loan or I should not give them loan. So, what I will do is that I will have something called a experience or a training set, where I will have 10 such persons, this attribute details and the class to be loan to be given or not known. So, I have these 10 persons for which it is known, and my job is for 5 more persons whose attribute values I know. These employed no, house small, income 55k. For them, whether they are actually given loan or not, that I don't know. I want to predict whether they should be given loan or not. So, these persons I know they are given loan, they are not given loan, they are given loan, they are not given loan, and these 5 persons I don't know whether they are given loan or not. So, what I want to do is to kind of predict what the values of this class attribute should be for each of these 5 points. So, this I call my test set or unknown examples. This I call my unknown examples. Okay. So, for these 5 examples I should predict. So, this is my prediction problem. Okay. So, the value to be predicted can be a group that this single person falls into. In this case only 2 groups, loan given or loan not given. In general you can have more group. Okay. So, these groups are called classes of that person, classes or categories of that person. So, basically what I am trying to do is that, knowing the class or category of say 10 training set persons, I want to predict the class of some new persons, testing persons, for which class is currently unknown, but I want to predict them from this history, from these previous examples. So, this problem is known as the is known as the classification problem. So, let me write them down in plain English. Given a training set which is a collection of rows or records, each consisting of some attribute, one of which is a class, find a function, in this case that is the pattern, which will take as input these attributes and predict the class. Okay. Take as input this attribute and predict the class. So, in this case, for example, I can, what I want to do is that if I want to write class as a function of this attribute 1, attribute 2, attribute 3 as a function of this, and so this function will take on these 3 values yes, large, 125k and return yes or no. What are the parameters of this function? That I will have to learn from these 10 examples. Okay. So, let me coming back to the definition. You have to find a function or a model from the previous records which will classify the new records, the future records, and assign a class to them based on the attribute values. This problem is known as the classification problem. You can actually see that this is a very common problem that human beings solve. How they solve it? Suppose you have gone to a doctor and every patient is characterized by some attribute, say has high temperature or not, has cough or not, has fever or not, and based on these symptoms and attributes, the doctor classifies the patient into a disease, say influenza or flu or malaria, puts it into a class, predicts the class for it. How does the doctor does it? She has looked at various influenza and malaria patients in the past. She has trained over them, and from this previous experience she has fitted a model, and when a new patient comes, using this model she tries to predict the class of that new person. Similarly, let us say suppose you are crossing a road and you have seen a car or a person or a vehicle. So, a kid, so the parent tells that okay, this is a car, this is a truck, this is a cow. So, this is a training that the kid is going through. This is called supervised learning. This classification is also sometimes called supervised learning. And when the kid sees a new person, the kid can, a new say a car or a bus or a human or a cow, the kid can classify it. Okay. So, this is what is the classification problem. So, if I draw it picturically, there are 2 steps in classification. One is from the training set you learn a model and then apply the model on a new problem. Here are some examples, say classifying credit card, classifying proteins into one of these groups, categorizing news stories as finance or which category type of news story it is, classifying email as spam or non-spam. All these are examples of classification tasks. Commonly in your practice you will encounter many such tasks. Now, depending on this what this function or model you take, you can have different type of classifiers, decision tree methods, rule based methods, memory reasoning, neural networks. So, in our course we will gradually go through them. So, today I end my lecture here. Thank you. In the next class we will go into details of this individual techniques starting with the decision tree. I hope you have understood the fundamental problem of classification. Next we will study different techniques to perform the classification. Thank you.